This is Talking Drupal, a bi-weekly chat about web design and development by a group of guys with one thing in common. We love Drupal. Recorded live on Wednesday afternoons in a Google Hangout. Visit us at talkingdrupal.com. This is episode 121, Wednesday, June 1st, 2016, Changing of the Guard. Welcome, guys.
Good afternoon.
How's everybody today?
Good.
Here we are at episode 121, Changing of the Guard, and we will introduce the guards in a moment. Before we do that, we have joining us as usual, John Picozzi from Oomph. Hi, John.
Good afternoon. Coming in from the Oomph Inc. offices here in Providence. Sunny and warm Providence, Rhode Island.
You don't have your home Wednesday today, huh?
No. Yeah, usually if there's a holiday in a week, we come into the office on Wednesdays just to make sure we fill our quota.
That's good. I forgot that. Oh, welcome. Welcome also Nick Laughlin from Enlightened Development.
How you guys doing? And I've also got an abbreviated week. I think this is the first Memorial Day that I didn't work the whole day, so it was pretty nice, although quite rainy. But looking forward to hearing you guys' perspective on some of the questions that we have and hearing what's new for the Drupal Association.
Yeah, so our guest today is Holly Ross, the Executive Director of the Drupal Association, and Megan Sanicki, who's the Chief Operating Officer of the Drupal Association. On only a few days left of that, from what I understand. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
And you have to unmute yourself. There you go. So the Changing of the Guard, the show today, we're going to talk about Holly's 3 years as the Executive Director and Megan coming in and get some perspective from both of them. So we're looking forward to this. Before we do that, we're going to go through our tips as we do every week. John, you have a tip.
I do. Actually, my tip this week is not a Drupal tip. It's a command line tip. A coworker of mine showed me this not too long ago, sometime last week I think it was. But if you hit, in your command line, if you hit Control-R, it'll actually allow you to search through previous commands that you've run. So this is super helpful if you have like a really long command and you don't feel like typing it all out again. You can hit Control-R and then start typing one of the words in the command. So like commit if it was a commit, or diff if it was a diff. And then once you find the right command, you can hit enter and it will actually run that command for you. So super helpful, saves a bunch of time in typing really long things over and over again.
Great, that's a good tip instead of me doing up arrow, huh?
Yeah, I used to be an up arrower, and you'd be like, up arrow, and then you wouldn't find it, and then you have to type it anyway. So this thing saves you a bunch of time.
Great. Nick, you have one as well.
Yeah, so if you're having some trouble installing or configuring a module, sometimes a good way to figure out what you're supposed to do is to read the README. And there's a really cool little feature on Drupal.org if you don't want to have to download the module. On the right-hand side, there's a link called Browse Repository, and you can click on that, and it will show you the code repo, and you can browse it directly there on Drupal.org. You can switch branches, so you can see all the versions, and then you can just go through the tree and see what's in the module without having to download it. And it's particularly helpful if you just use Drush to download something on a server and don't have it locally.
Yeah, great tip. So 2 great tips so far. The last tip from me is something you've heard over and over again: is you shouldn't be putting PHP in your database fields with the PHP text filter. And that's an old one, but I got bit by it a couple of weeks ago when I'm doing a project for a customer. There was a website that we inherited, and there was some ill-formed HTML showing up at the bottom of the pages. And looked through all the code, couldn't find that anywhere. Well, guess where it was? When we did a search in the database, I dumped the database out to a SQL file, did a search in there, and there was the HTML getting generated from a text field that had PHP turned on, and there was JavaScript code and PHP code in this field, and it was reaching out to a third-party service, and that third-party service was failing. That way, that page was failing, and the HTML was getting all messed up. And we probably spent about 7 hours trying to find this issue. So we all know not to use it, and we've all done it at some point to get around some sort of issue, but stay away if you can. So more of a public service announcement than a tip. So also, hey, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback you'd like to give us, always remember you can email us at talkingdrupal@gmail.com. We also have a phone line at 401-400-2004. Drop us a line. And we move on to changing of the guard. So it's really exciting to have Holly and Megan here today. We actually had some experience with Holly face-to-face about a year ago. We invited Holly to come to the Drupal camp that we run here in Providence, the New England Drupal camp, and Holly came out and was our keynote speaker last October. So thank you again, Holly, for doing that.
Yeah, it was great to be there. It was a great camp, and Providence is amazing. Really beautiful town.
Yeah, thank you. We're having the camp, to remind everyone, it's going to be on, what is the date?
September 30th and October 1st.
Thank you. I almost slipped my mind. How could I not remember that? So October 1st is the Saturday. We're going to have training on Friday, and we're moving the camp up to New Hampshire for this year. So anyone who is interested, make sure you go to nedcamp.org or do a search on New England Drupal Camp and you'll find us. So how about if we start today, maybe on a brief introduction. I usually introduce the guests, but I didn't feel like I knew enough about you to give a good introduction today. So how about if you guys give a nice introduction to get this thing rolling?
I think it's super fun. I think it's funny to introduce yourself before you're about to say goodbye. But
hello, I'm leaving.
Well, I can say I know you knit.
Yeah, true story. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Holly Ross. I've been here for 3 years at the association, and Drupal had been a small part of my career before then, so it was really exciting to dive all the way down into Drupal land. With my now copious free time, I'm looking forward to continuing to knit. That's one of my things, for sure. Lots of crafting around the house. Reading. I'm going to read some books because I haven't done that enough in a long time. Those are things I enjoy. And also lots of outdoor activity. So, I don't know. That'll probably do, huh?
That does. And you know what, Holly, as awkward as it might be to ask you to introduce yourself as you're leaving, I do think that there's a lot of Drupal people out there that really don't know a whole lot about the Drupal Association, believe it or not.
I know that's totally true, as a matter of fact, because, if you think about it, there's, hundreds of thousands of accounts on Drupal.org worldwide that are active, and for most of those folks, they're coming in to get a thing or two, they download core, they might come to Drupal.org because they're looking for a module, and they may just be, working, they happen to be working on a Drupal site, but Drupal isn't necessarily their career, right? So we know there's lots and lots of folks who have yet to understand how rich the community is and what Drupal can do for them, and how the association plays a role in that.
Right. So, and we can talk about that a little bit as we move through the show here. Now, Megan, how about a brief introduction of yourself as well? Thank you.
Sure. So, let's see. Megan Sanicki. I've been with the association since we started bringing staff on, because it started as a volunteer board, and then they decided it was time to have some staff take on things like Drupal Con, and then with Holly's help, we started stepping more into our mission and doing a lot more in the last 3 years, growing the team. And my focus primarily has been how do we serve our business community, how do we generate income for the project. So I've done a lot with Drupal Con sponsorships and the Drupal Con team and the programming there, and also focused a lot on things like the membership program, and then also other just mission-based programs that help the project. So things like global training days and oh gosh, so many things over the years. I'm sure I'm missing a ton, Holly. But yeah, but Holly and I have just been really having this great, teamwork and partnership, and so it's gonna, be hard that she's moving on, but I'm really excited about the opportunity. I'm trying to think what else I can say. I guess for myself, I live in Tucson, Arizona. I'm originally from New Jersey. Came out here just to see more sunshine, and I do lots of stuff outdoors, so really into my boot camp right now, and soccer, and just being with family.
Well, it sounds like it's certainly going to be, with the relationship you have with Holly, certainly going to be a smooth transition.
Yep, that's the plan. Holly's been great. I mean, in a lot of ways, the last couple of years, she's just been bringing me along and having me help her, and then also learn the ropes while she goes. And she's been an amazing mentor.
Don't say too many nice things, because my challenge today is not to cry, Megan.
Never. Friday, we'll have beers.
Yeah.
So that actually brings up a question for me. And what is kind of the day-to-day like for board members? Is it a full-time job, or are you guys in communication every day, or is it more of a part-time thing for some people and you just communicate as needed?
So the board of the association is definitely a part-time gig. So we've got board and then staff. And the board's role, I think the technical term is that they've got a fiduciary responsibility. And what that means is that they are responsible for the overall health of the organization. And that has a lot of different angles, facets to it, right? So one angle is definitely financial, but also what's the reputation of the organization? Is the organization actually serving its mission? There's lots of different facets to that they're responsible for. And their mandate is to approach that. For our size organization, is to really look at those questions from a strategic point of view. So, and that's definitely been a transition. I think, when Megan started, the board was very different because we were an all-volunteer organization. The board was actually doing things like selecting the venues for Drupal Cons, or, deciding what sessions were going to be at a Drupal Con, for example, setting up the Global Training Days program. And now the role is much more strategic, and then these are the directions we should head. We need to do more to, for example, promote Drupal 8 now that it's out. How do we shift the organization to do that? And then it's Megan's job to figure out, okay, here's how we will tactically achieve that within that strategy.
So Megan, Holly, I would imagine this is the number one question you get. Why are you leaving?
Well,
and it might come in the form of why.
Well, that'd be nice if it did, but yeah. So honestly, like Megan said, I've really been working closely with Megan for the last few years, and she's definitely ready for a leadership position somewhere. And I felt like it's a really good time. It's a natural time for her to be able to take on the role here. And I think that definitely is something I started to think about really seriously at the end of last year, when we got to the point in the spring when we realized, when we were able to affirm that our financials were not going to hit the targets that we needed to get to sustain the organization at its current size. It just made sense. I can leave because Megan is totally capable. And it made sense for me as a person, and I know that not just Megan is capable, but the team here is really fantastic, and it's really easy to walk away when you have such a great team to, carry things forward.
So the second half of that question is, what's next? Is there something next? Are you going to take time off and just kind of hang out and read those books and take those nature walks, or are you looking to on to the next thing?
Yeah, no, I definitely intend to, for the first time ever, take an extended vacation, which I'm really excited about. So I actually don't know what's next, and I feel really happy about that, because I also tend to minutely plan my life in that way, and it will be, I think, an interesting challenge to have nothing to do.
So do you have a couple things on the list of vacation destinations, or are you just going to kind of play it by ear?
Oh, destinations? Oh yeah, I'm gonna visit my mom in Phoenix. Super exciting times.
Phoenix is a good time.
Yeah, you can make some things happen there. No destinations. It's more project based stuff
There
I
you
want to
go.
do around the house. Yeah, yeah. I got a quilt I need to finish. A lot of baby clothes to knit.
I
So
heard you're going to start building stuff.
yeah, I just have to convince my husband that watching YouTube videos is the same thing as contracting experience. I want to put a built-in bookcase in a room in my house, and he really doesn't want me to. I'm like, I
I
watched
would
all the YouTube
Yeah,
videos.
let's look at it this way. It's only one room. It's not like you're putting one in every room of your house.
I would say as a new homeowner myself, as long as it's not structural, watching YouTube videos is exactly the same. Structural, then it's not.
Right. Maybe Holly needs to make YouTube videos of her building this thing so we can all experience it.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Some
could
other
be
time I'll tell you about the ceiling fan we tried to install this weekend.
that could actually be your next career. I hear there are YouTube stars that make a ton of money.
Yeah, destroying my house to become a YouTube star. That's probably what would happen.
Hey, from the perspective of both of you, would you say that like Drupal right now is sort of this thing that was happening pre Drupal 8 and then post Drupal 8? Is that part of the transition with you guys and maybe the direction of the Drupal Association in general? Because it felt like from where I sit that there were years of building up to Drupal 8. When is Drupal 8 coming? And preparing and preparing and preparing. Now it's here, and now we're using it. I think all of us on this phone are using it on different projects. But I'm imagining that the Drupal Association has shifted a bit because it's now here, and I don't expect we're completely focusing on 9, but focusing on other things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of those like natural paces in time that allowed Holly and I to make the shift that we're doing. She's kind of like the build part of the equation. Now I'm part of the promote part of the equation of our mission. So, and just in case people don't know what our mission is all about, it's about uniting the community so we can build and promote the software, right? And obviously that's a really big mission, and we do have really good revenues. It's like $5 million. There's only, we have to prioritize like any business does. And when we saw that the community really needed help getting the software out the door, then we were able to put a lot of resources into that. And Josh Mitchell, our CTO, and the engineering team did a lot to help there with different tooling. And so we're really proud of that work. It's excellent work, and now we can put that into like sustain mode and start to shift our focus over towards the promote side of the equation. And having worked with the business community over the years, we have these great channels out there, whether they're the Drupal shops. Now we have this new group, the system integrators. We even have all these digital agencies that are using Drupal, right? And there are all these multipliers that can help us grow the adoption of the software. And we need to start supporting them and helping them do what they do best in their markets. And we also have our own channels, which we can focus on. So DrupalCon, we've really been focusing a lot of the resources on leveling up developer skills so they know how to contribute to the project and how to use the software. But we haven't really done much to attract customers in and to help them understand how Drupal and third-party software and the service providers together can give them solutions. So we want to start focusing in our channels about telling those kinds of stories. And we're doing it already. So we have summits, the one-day summits at DrupalCon. Mm-hmm. And that's like, the higher ed ones are really fantastic ones. We have customers, the higher ed users and those that are potential users coming in, and they spend a whole day networking and hearing case studies about what they could do more, different, better with Drupal. And so we have some of that learning already we can lean into. And then on the Drupal.org side, we're starting to look at the adoption journey that potential customers or end users are taking and seeing how we can really round out the message there so we can improve that experience for them and lower the barriers and bring in, again, like third-party companies to help round out the story we have, because it's not just about Drupal when we talk about solutions for customers. And And so that's kind of been my focus, and where the team and I are going to be heading over the next 12 months will be a good focus for us, and we've got some changes to make, but I'm pretty excited about helping the community in this way.
So Megan, a follow-up to that is, how do you feel that your many years of being part of the Drupal Association has kind of prepared you for your new role as executive promoter, I guess we'll call it?
Yeah. Well, I think one is just understanding the DNA of this community. That's one thing. I'm excited. Michael Schmidt is coming to my house tonight, right? I just have these great relationships, but also people that are big drivers in the community, and I can leverage all these relationships just to understand what their needs are and how we can create value in a really unique way for them. So I don't, I'm not starting from scratch. I do have some research to do and to really figure out how to move us into this promotion mode through our channels. But I have tons and tons of great relationships and advisors in the community that can help me. So that's really great. And then also before Drupal, I worked in technology and lots of other different segments and for different for-profit companies. And so I'm excited to bring in some of my understanding of how markets work and where our opportunity is, how customers make decisions on best-of-breed solutions, and kind of some logic that can be used for not just promoting software, but how to position us in the marketplace. So I'm excited to start using that kind of part of my background as well.
Great. So Holly, what would you say was your greatest accomplishment in your time at the Drupal Association? Do you have one that sticks out in your mind?
Besides being keynote speaker at the New England Drupal Camp.
That was really, it was definitely a highlight, you guys. I think honestly it's the team here that we built here and the culture that we built at the association. I think when I came on board 3 years ago, there was really natural. The evolution of this has been really natural. The community existed before the association did, right? And then the association plops down and says, we're going to do things, right? And there's a healthy amount of skepticism from the community about that. And I think it is healthy because people should question what you're doing and why you're doing it. That just makes you better, to have those kinds of conversations. But there was definitely a sense that there was members of the community who were concerned about whether or not the association really had the best interests of the project at heart and the community at heart, right? And I think the team that we built here and the culture that we've created at the association is one that has proven again and again that we really put the community and its needs first, that we care about what happens, that even when we make missteps, we don't do it with ill intent. It's always, they're not purposeful, right? And that we'll own up to our missteps and apologize for them. And just the team here just cares so much about what's happening with each other and the larger community, and is really focused on that mission of serving the project. And there are just some incredibly smart people here, but most importantly, I think that caring thing comes through. They care about each other and they care about the community a great deal. So I'm really proud to have found those people and been able to put them together and been able to work with them for so long.
Before you joined the Drupal Association, was there an executive director position, or was that new?
Yeah, so Jacob Redding was the first executive director for a couple of years. Yeah, so it wasn't entirely new, no.
Okay. I thought, looking back before the show, I thought I had read there were like a co-director position before you were here. Is that right? And Megan's laughing right now.
Yeah. That was me. That was
okay,
Megan,
I thought so. All right.
Yeah, I just stepped in to help at an interim time while Jacob was moving on and Holly wasn't on board yet. I think we're still in discussions, but I just said I'd help out and be a co-managing director, but I wasn't ready to step into the role at that time. And so that's why there was that blog post out there.
Oh, okay. So here you are now. You're ready, I guess.
Yep, Holly taught me the ropes.
You were ready before. You just didn't know it.
I was trying to be a hippie in the desert. It didn't work.
That's true. You consulted your crystals and they told you wrong.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Don't have those powers.
Okay, so that didn't come up in your intro.
Yeah, I was trying a new thing.
Megan was living in Sedona, Arizona, where
Oh,
people
man.
take aliens seriously.
Yeah.
The
how-
vortexes? Yeah.
How often did you two get to work face to face, or does the team all get together face to face?
Yeah, so the team is, like, the bulk of folks are in Portland, and then, there's a handful of folks that work remotely, more than a handful of folks, about a third of us that work remotely. And so, like, Megan and I, we obviously, a good chunk of us will see each other at the cons. We had at least one face-to-face meeting with everyone per year. And then there'd be, other things that might happen, like Megan would come up for a certain set of meetings or whatever. I think shortly after I came on board, I went and stayed at Megan's house in Sedona, for example. So I think it's important to keep in touch and have that face-to-face connection for sure.
So is there something that sits in your mind, Holly, that says this is one thing that I wanted to accomplish but never got to do? And that list is probably long, right? But
it's long, yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything there that is going to bother you after you leave?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't think you can walk away from anything without feeling lots of regret in a natural way. And I certainly am going to take stuff with me for sure. I think part of it is pace of change. Really, is something that I regret. Like, not necessarily that it was avoidable, but for example, one thing in particular, after I think in the first year that I was here, it was a pretty steep learning curve to come from nonprofits and technology, but not necessarily open source, like deep into open source. So it was a learning curve to sort of understand what this Drupal stuff was all about, how you guys did what you did, how the community functions. And that definitely slowed me down in being able to move on certain things. For example, the core maintainers, I had a meeting with them within my first year where they said really explicitly, testing is killing us. Like, we will never release Drupal 8 if we don't address testing. And it took a really long time to sort of figure out how to crack that nut and come up with a solution for them. And we did. There was a great community and association staff collaboration to rebuild testing from the ground up that in the end I think was really instrumental in being able to release Drupal 8 when we did. But I mean, it took us from the time they told us that till the time we really started to be able to implement that change was probably over a year. And that, I'm really sad that took so long because I feel like, a 5-year release cycle was really hard on the community in a lot of ways. And I know it's behind us now and we get to move forward, but I just feel like I feel for everyone that had anxiety and concern and everything else that comes along with that 5-year release cycle.
Do you feel we're in a position to not do a 5-year cycle again?
I hope so, but yes. Yeah. I mean, so two things. One, I think that point releases, if they can stick to that point release schedule, that's going to be a great way to reassure the community and just allay a lot of developer anxiety about releases in general. But those releases also have to have meaning, right? They can't just be bug updates. We have to have features in those releases. So I think that everyone is really aligned around that kind of idea, and that we'll see that happen. They know how important it is. And that'll actually make the jump from 8 to 9. It won't be a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be really, really important. So these point releases, I think, are really key for sure.
And we saw that a few weeks ago with 8.1 coming out, and we all said when we were talking a few weeks ago on the show, wow, maybe these point releases are going to work. I think Nick said that exactly. It was a release and it had some great functionality in it. which is something that we've never seen before, right? Is
Yep.
releases in that structure. So it was really great to see that. So that is definitely off to a good start.
Yeah, I feel nothing but optimism for what's going to happen with Drupal.
So, Megan, let's ask you the reverse of that question, right? What are you looking forward to the most in your new role, going forward?
Yeah, well, I think from a big picture standpoint, like what really excites me is just seeing Drupal adopted in all kinds of sectors in all kinds of ways, and not just for web, but I'd love to see it starting to move towards future technology trends like Internet of Things, right? And you see this happening. Headless is a really big push in that direction. And I just think we have such an amazing opportunity. I mean, you think about who we are really going up against and the fact that there's not really a lot of open source competitors in our space, and open source is really growing in acceptance within all these decision makers. I'm just really excited to start telling our story and seeing the adoption grow. And it's really a very personal thing for me because I want to reward the community in the way that I can. I mentioned this a bit in my blog post, but I just feel like everyone has these Drupal dreams, whether it's to be a freelancer or to serve citizens and go work for a government, or maybe they want to do something really cool like with Tesla. Like they should be able to have any opportunity they want to pursue their dream and get paid to do it. And I think the association can help the community just grow that adoption and open up all those doors. So from a big picture standpoint, that's exciting to me. That's and then of course when I just look at the next 12 months, right? Like, is that going to happen? Like, I think in our own ways, it's already happening. And so I'm most excited about starting to tell better stories about Drupal. We've spent a lot of time talking about Drupal as a point product and talking about, the power of different modules and the things that our developers need to know, which is really important. But I'd love to see us expand that and talk about solutions and talk about how, like Drupal and Fastly work really great together. They're the CDN that we use. We have a great case study out there, and it's really kind of resonated with people. They're like, oh, like I could do this with Drupal. Or we just had a great webinar with Lingotech talking about how translations really solves global companies that want to talk to customers in multiple languages, and they have a better experience. It's better for their business when they can have this kind of multilingual solution. So I just feel that there's a huge opportunity to tell all kinds of better enhanced stories and finding the right partners to tell those stories with.
So, for example, like the webinar today, where was that posted for people to learn about? And for anyone who's listening to this show, if they want to follow their Drupal dreams, like you say, where is the best place for them to start doing that? How do they learn more? How do they tell their stories to you? How can they learn more about the opportunities with Drupal? Are some of those things in place today?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little over a year ago, we created Drupal Jobs, and that's one place to go and start looking to see who's hiring. And of course, at Drupal Con is a great place to go, and people are always there, different kinds of businesses. From NBC Universal was there recruiting talent. Different agencies are recruiting talent, so that's always a great place to go. And then if you're looking to get more about these kinds of stories out there and case studies, of course you can follow at Drupal Association. We put it out through our newsletter, social media, and then we record everything and put it on our YouTube channel.
Which is, that YouTube channel is such a great resource. We always encourage our listeners to go there, especially if you did not attend DrupalCon, or even if you did. There's so much material there that there's no excuse for not using it in any way.
Yeah, that's one of the best public services that we offer, frankly. We should package it up as its own separate program, or all those DrupalCon recordings, session recordings, and they get up there so fast. The team does a great job.
Yeah.
Are those available?
A revenue stream right there. You could do like the DrupalCon box set.
There you go.
Get your own with like a little poster and a signed picture of Dries.
Perfect.
Are those videos available in audio only as well?
No.
So yeah, so it would be great to have an audio, like a podcast stream.
Yeah.
Those sessions. Lots of people like to just listen while they're cutting the grass, knitting, building interior closets, doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, that would be great to get those into an audio format.
That's a good idea.
So I have a question, I guess, about kind of the Drupal Association membership, because I know from my speaking to you guys has reminded me that my membership has lapsed, so I'll be renewing.
I gotta hang up. Sorry.
That's unacceptable, Nick.
I gotta go.
Go renew that
I'll
right
be
now.
fixing that.
Right
So
now.
I guess one of the questions that I have is how if there's how the membership is of the Drupal Association, and what ways, because I don't remember getting notices about that. I'm sure I did, but I guess that's one of the questions that I have. And what are the different benefits of the different levels?
I think we talked about that a little bit at the top, just how there's, you know, if you think about the whole universe of Drupal users, the knowledge of the association is probably pretty small. So we have a lot of work to do there for, you know, an awareness building. But I think the encouraging thing about membership is that it does continue to grow. So we have, I think at this point, over 3,000 paid memberships. Those are both organization memberships, which could cover multiple people, so like at a Drupal shop, right? And then as well as individual memberships. So it's healthy in the sense that it, you know, it does continue to grow, and we've been experimenting with ways to let people know about the association. So I think actually we're about to deploy a membership banner on D.O right now, today, for example, and we ran a campaign at the end of last year as well, which was really successful.
Actually, I see that right now, so it probably just went out.
Yeah,
So
I think I saw that they were deploying it right when I came in here for this. So
I'll make it official.
yeah. So you know, we're experimenting with ways to build awareness around membership, and the key thing about membership is it's showing your support for the Drupal community, and we don't want to price people out of showing their support, right? That's not fair, and we know that people from around the world have different abilities to contribute, so everything's on a sliding scale. You can join at whatever dollar amount makes sense for you as an individual, and then for organization memberships, also on a sliding scale as well, but they, you know, it just starts at a little higher because we make some assumptions about if you're an organization, you know, your pockets might be a little bit deeper. You want to add anything to that, Megan?
No, that's, you know, definitely an area we're still going to focus on. I mean, it can't just be about promoting Drupal. We're still here for the community and want to give them all kinds of ways to feel like they're a part of our mission and contributing. So
yeah, and the benefits are pretty. I mean, you know, we definitely have discounts for members, so keep a lookout for those. There's things like discounts on O'Reilly books and things like that. We will often also, from our partners, get sort of pop-ups throughout the year and be able to say, like, oh, members, you get a discount for OSCON, for example. So you just got to keep an eye out for your emails about those sorts of things. But really, that membership program is very philanthropic. So, you know, we don't have like a lot of levels and with different benefits.
Is the picture campaign still going on? Taking a picture with your
certificate
membership cert?
Yes, I love those. We get some awesome pictures on Twitter from that.
I will say that I made my own T-shirt out of my certificate.
that's awesome.
You know, T-shirt, some tape. It worked out really well for about, you know, an afternoon.
So go ahead, Nick.
No, go ahead.
So you're ready to serve.
Do we just lose Stephen?
He'll come back. Just give him a second.
Buying us time.
There it is.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So Megan, would you mind answering that question?
42.
Yeah. So your blog post for Ready to Serve was excellent. It really outlined what you what you see the organization doing over the next 12 months and your vision. And there was a real focus there on the finances. I'm just curious in terms of the financial side. I thought I heard Holly also say that the funding was not going to support the size staff that you have now. So it sounds like you've got some other ideas to generate some income. What are those ideas?
Sure. So, our ultimate goal is to have enough funding where we can have the same level of support for building, helping the community build the software, and the same level of support for promoting the software. Right now, we have to prioritize just because, that's what you have to do when you have a budget. And so as we focus on promoting the software, I've talked a lot about how we want to kind of enhance the message to talk more about solutions and solutions that really matter to the customers or the evaluators at DrupalCon, at going on Drupal.org, and we can only tell those stories if we bring in the people like Fastly to talk about how Fastly and Drupal together solve problems, or how Drupal and LingoTech and other technologies come together to help customers, and bring in the service providers so they can talk about how they can implement these kinds of solutions. And really what we're doing is we're not just providing educational content together and enhancing our adoption journey, but we're inviting these technology companies and service providers to engage in a meaningful way in the adoption journey, where they're going to get leads, right? That's kind of like the ultimate goal for them, the value that they're looking for, and they're willing to pay for those opportunities. And so it's really what I call, what Holly and I call, it's like mission and money at the same time. It's like two sides of the same coin, and when you can align your mission work with ways to generate income, that you have more opportunities to scale and be more efficient with your resources too. And so we're already doing this. So I talked about the summits at DrupalCon, like the Higher Ed Summit. It's a day where evaluators and customers in the higher ed space come together and talk about new ways, better ways they can use Drupal. And we invite service providers to come in and sponsor it, and they get to provide educational content and expertise in the room. So they're definitely helping these people level up their understanding of how to use Drupal, but they're also collecting business cards and making business contacts, and they're willing to pay for those opportunities. And so that's just one small example of how we can do this on a bigger scale, especially on Drupal.org. I see that, we have 20 million unique visitors a year, lots of technical decision makers on the site. So that's a lot more than you even have at DrupalCon.
So, as a new Drupal Association member,
Bravo!
I have a question for you. So, as a member or a Drupal user or a member of the community, how do we kind of keep tabs, aside from kind of irregular emails that go out, how do we keep tabs on kind of what you guys are, what's currently on your plate, or put something in front of you? So I can give you an example. One personal kind of mission of mine that I've been chewing on for a while is Drupal's been around for a very long time. We're now in version 8, and each major version breaks the API and completely changes the modules. So we now have a situation where you search for an issue and you get results from Drupal 5, Drupal 6, or the majority of them are Drupal 7 because that's the most popular version still, but the issues haven't been commented on in 4 years, or the module hasn't been updated in 4 or 5 years. So one thing that I'd like to start an initiative, I guess, on would be a way to clean up issues, get control of modules that haven't been updated in months. So I guess the question is, how do we keep tabs on what you guys are working on, or bring an issue up in a way that to see if there's other people interested in the same thing? And I guess that question probably would be for Megan, since you're taking over at this point.
Well, that is definitely a good question and not exactly easy for me to answer, so I might even have Holly kind of jump in.
Okay. Well, that's a good one. I'm going to add this to the book that I'm writing for you, Megan.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good one. So how do we keep track of what's going on? Now, so, Drupal.org is still a huge part of what we do. And your example there is focused on Drupal.org. So I'll answer there first and just say that if you go to Drupal.org/roadmap, you'll get a sense of what the staff at the association are focused on in terms of Drupal.org. So for the last bit of time, it's really been focused around Composer. That was something that the core developers really wanted to see happen, as well as a lot of enterprise Drupal customers. So we've got the top 5 current issues that we're working on are there, and sometimes they're super technical stuff like Composer. Other times, like the number 4 issue right now is updating the style guide, right? And then you can see what's next. So that's how you can sort of get a sense of what is on the roadmap for the site, and where it is driven from. Because we also have a couple of icons on there. You'll see which issues are actually community proposed issues. So then to follow up, how do you get it? How do you get something worked on? Like anything else in Drupal, you create an issue, and Drupal.org has its own issue queue. And it's always good to follow up with staff here, and they're really open to talking with the community. Just let them know what you're thinking and why. And we do our best to get into all the new Drupal.org issues, but as you mentioned, there's a lot of cruft on the site. So it's helpful just to ping someone on staff if you've got a good idea there. So the roadmap, proposing issues, that's really important for Drupal.org.
I have to say, by the way, the releases that you guys have been putting out for Drupal.org in the last year and a half have been fantastic.
God bless you.
That's awesome. What was your favorite? What was the most impactful?
Even though I don't get credit for it too much, probably the credit feature, like the ability to see who contributed and give that to a specific person or organization. I think that, and then the job stuff and the ability to add your organization. I've gotten a couple of RFPs recently, just because my organization is on there tagged with something specific. So it's been, I think both of those are probably the best.
Awesome.
That's great to hear. Thanks.
Yeah, love it.
No problem.
Yeah. So that's it, but I think one other side of that is Drupal Cons, and so there we probably do our most communicating about what's happening at the cons on the association blog. So that ADO homepage has our blog listings, and we try to put periodic updates around all kinds of things that happen at Drupal Cons, like how do we make the con green, for example. But the DrupalCon team works with community volunteers every single day, so we're constantly getting stuff there. And the best place to communicate a change you want to see is probably in any evaluation for the con, if you've been. Because believe it or not, they actually read every single text comment in those evaluations, and they come into a room and they're figure out what's the thing we heard again and again, right? And they really take it seriously, trying to figure out how to address those concerns. So.
The question to that, how to make the con green to have it in Dublin?
Right.
Yeah, I'm here all week, folks.
Don't forget to tip your waitress.
Install Drupal 8. Tip your developer.
I'm curious about the support that the Drupal Association does for Drupal camps. As the three of us run a camp here in New England, one of the things that we got involved with a little bit at the end of last year was having the Drupal Association work on a sponsorship program where they could help the local camps find sponsors. Is that program still continuing?
It's something that we've been looking at and trying to find a better way to approach it. So, so what do they say? Imitation's the best form of flattery. So we looked at WordPress. Their camps have the same levels everywhere, and the same packages. And so they have this program where, if you wanted, say you were a software company that wanted to reach out to developers at all these WordPress camps, you can just call up the WordPress team, give them money, and you get the same level of sponsorship at different regions, right? And so it's hard for us to replicate that and make it work from the sponsor side, because every camp is absolutely different, and so we don't have quite the same plumbing and structure to make that scale. I mean, one thing that we definitely can do in the meantime, though, is as we're working more with third-party software companies, and we're working more with hosting companies that are trying to get deeper engaged with the Drupal community, especially at the developer technical level. We always advise them, it's not just about us. Think about these camps. We'll let them know what camps are out there. We send them all over to DrupalCon so they can kind of pick which ones they want. And so there's definitely ways that we can keep, pointing them towards the bigger community to support.
Yeah, it is a bit of a challenge to get sponsors, at the local level. We've done pretty well here for our camp. We're in our third year. But I do know of other camps that have struggled quite a bit to get some sponsorship. So I'd love to see that program continue or change or do something to help these camps survive or start. I mean, not even just survive, but get going.
Yeah. Well,
and even go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, on the getting going front, there is the community cultivation grants, which for getting going, that's exactly what they're designed for. So if you look up at association.drupal.org/grants. Those grants are run by a committee of volunteers. You can put a request in if you want to start a new Drupal project that is designed to increase Drupal adoption. You can apply for funding to get that going. And it could be a camp, it could be a magazine, it could be training, it could be any number of things. And we fund those all over the world. The committee receives the requests and approves them, and the association funds them. So just making sure everyone knows that that's available.
Yes, we did apply for that and didn't receive one. But the
reason
was
a great story.
Well, the reason was because we had pretty good funding already from our sponsors, so
okay.
It was justified for us not to receive.
They wanted to give it to somebody that really needed it.
That really needed it, right?
Not just
we just funded a camp in Nigeria. I was pretty excited about that.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's cool all over the world. Which is great, and it's super fun to connect with the people who are running them. Yeah.
Okay, as we're wrapping up on our hour here, I want to thank both of you for your time today with us. And Holly, do you have any parting words for our listeners?
I just want to say how grateful I am to the community for being so welcoming overall and for all of the support. I've truly loved being a part of the community and how smart and enthusiastic and just wonderful the people have been. So just thanks for letting me be a part of it for as long as I was.
And I
think I'm having some tech problems here.
Yeah,
so,
I assume the same question goes for Megan.
I apologize. So Holly, on behalf of the Drupal community and our listeners, thank you for your service to the community over the past 3 years, and we wish you luck in the future.
Thanks.
Megan, so for you.
Yeah.
Do you have any encouraging words for our listeners? And I also wanted to ask one more thing too. Is how would you like people who are listening to get more involved in the Drupal Association?
Yeah. Well, let's see. What was the first question? It was
encouraging words.
Encouraging words.
Yes.
I don't know. Don't change. Just keep being who you are. I think this community is amazing. I just really loved. We had a keynote speaker who's also our board member, come and speak at DrupalCon Asia, and she works in all kinds of open source projects, has been on the board of many, and she just really pointed how unique our project is. Our culture is so special, and it's what really kind of sets us apart and kind of helps us keep driving forward and doing amazing things for each other and with each other. So I don't know. It's like, what do they say? Culture eats strategy for lunch. So don't change. And then in terms of working with us, and I love hearing people's ideas, what's important to them. I always think it's important to know what people's passions and strengths are and see how we can align them with the work needs that we have. And heck, it may not even be needs that we have. Maybe you just need to do something outside of the association, and you just need to be told, like, yeah, do that, great thing. So, they can just reach out to me through our Twitter handle at Drupal Assoc, or they can just email me directly at the association.
All right, excellent. Thank you for joining us today. John Picozzi, where can people find you online?
Oh man, so many places. You can find me on all the major social networks and Drupal.org at John Picozzi, and always on at don'tthink.com.
Thank you. How about you, Nick?
And you can find me online pretty much everywhere at Nixman, Nicxvan.
Excellent. And I'm Stephen Cross. I can be found at Stephen Cross on Twitter with a PH. And Holly, do you wish anyone to find you online? I forgot to ask you that. Or are you going into hiding?
So my Twitter handle has been tied to Drupal for the last 3 years. It's Drupal H. Ross. Eventually, I'm going to update it, probably. But but that's where I am now. I'm totally happy. I fully intend to stay connected to as many wonderful people as I can from Drupal.
All right, excellent. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and talk to you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good one.
Yeah.